a country, and the list will be there. Sometimes they don't write the Bettina or the Amma, so they write Dr. Bohine Andah, which is fine. And then you get there, and then they'll ask you, oh, are you the secretary, or where's the doctor? So then I would say, well, that's me. Oh, you? And I said, yes. And they'll say, oh, okay. You know, as if to say, I mean, why you? I mean, we're looking for a tall, dark, you know, grey head with, you know, with a beard or something. So those times, and they were a little bit unnerving. I mean, you'd sit down and wonder at this stage in one's life why, and some were just outrightly rude, and would say that, oh well, but are you his physician? What do you do? I mean, what do you do for him? They just put me in a box and just assume that because I'm a woman, I should either be his secretary or I should be probably his chef cooking his food, or you know, and that sometimes was a little bit upsetting. But generally, it was smooth, and that's why the bumps were not many. There are certain bumps, obviously, I cannot speak about,
right?
Because they are too personal, and they, you know, they are not things you even want to relive. So, but the ones I can speak about and I can remember is what I've told you, and these are the broad areas.
Did you ever feel like you couldn't do it, or you would just resign, or tell His Excellency that you rather do something else, or rather be in your quiet space somewhere?
Oh,
Did you ever
yes.
feel like
I mean,
that?
there were times where, you know, especially when you face this kind of opposition, and your children are home, and you're thinking, what am I doing here? I might as well be at home spending time with my children if I'm not appreciated. His Excellency and his family are fantastic. Treated me like one of their own. Right. And so every time I thought back and said, you're serving Mother Ghana, don't look at it as serving one individual. And then also, once you've put your mind to it, you have to show absolute dedication and commitment to the end. You know, so those were the things that would drive me to say, you know what, just carry on. And of course, I'm extremely spiritual. Presbyterian background, but now I have one leg in the Presbyterian Church and one in the Charismatic Church. So I have a lot of men of God, Dr. Lawrence Tete, Bishop Isaac Kwe, spiritual mother, Sandra White, and I had a team always, you know, with me in prayer. So when I face those difficulties, I wouldn't tell them the details of it, but I'll just call them from China, from wherever, and say, you know what, I'm having a bit of a low time, and they'll pray with me, and almost inevitably things just got better. So yes, I did have my low times and thought I should give up, but thankfully I didn't. I served till the end.
Right. Did you find yourself being extra cautious in everything you did, especially in caring for the president, because you knew that this was the most valued person in this country? Did you feel that when you were catering to the president?
Well, you will, because as I said before, he's not allowed to be ill, he's not allowed to have a cold, he's not allowed to have a rash, he's not allowed to bump his head. So I would normally, but my father always said to me, and he's been a doctor for 50 odd years,
right?
And he always said to me, Amma, just treat him like any other human being. Because the more you treat him specially, the more you're bound to make mistakes. You're supposed to give paracetamol, and you think, oh, I should give something extraordinary. He's the president. I think that's absurd. So, and if anybody will ask him, he'll tell you point blank that. And then also, you know, not pussyfooting. If there was something wrong, I would say it right to his face. I wouldn't say, I saw him as a patient, and that is what kept me going. Gave him the respect I'll give any other patient, of course. He was the president, so there'll be that extra. But I didn't, where my work was concerned, I was just very stern, and I'd let him do what he needed to do, because the whole country would be on my case if anything went wrong.
Right. So, I mean, you're a medical professional, but you're human too. And just as human as anyone else is, you would also have those moments where you are unwell. How did you deal with those moments? And combine it with your work?
Yeah, I said he wasn't allowed to be unwell. I wasn't either. You know, and I was always crying for sympathy or empathy, or because you're not well and people see, oh, doc, you don't look well at all. Anyway, here's the schedule for today. We'll be going here and there and the other. And I'm thinking, and some would crack a joke and say, hey, if you are sick, what should some of us do? You know, but then they'll just gloss over it because they know. Some will also say, oh, you know all the medicines to take all of them. And so I did get ill. One event that I remember, which really was quite serious, was I fell in Mali. We went for a state visit. I was coming down a set of marble stairs and I slipped. And for those who are religious, probably like to hear this part of the story where I virtually had been told before I left after prayer that there was going to be some accident, and it was going to involve just me. And I thought, that's weird. Why will an accident involve just me? I don't drive, you know. Right. But so somehow I was just in prayer. I was coming down the stairs, slipped, and fell. And so there was a gentleman, Foreign Affairs Minister of Mali. He grabbed me by my back, and that prevented me from knocking my head. And so immediately my ankle started getting swollen, and it was extremely painful. Luckily, we went with our own aircraft, so they put me on the aircraft. So I was in a cast for about 4 to 6 weeks. But I will still hobble along because I could still walk and go and see His Excellency. And he always said, Amma, you know, you shouldn't have bothered. Don't come. I'll be fine. But I said, yes, you think I'll be fine, but the whole of Ghana, if anything happens to you. Unfortunately, I didn't have a backup, which I think probably security-wise was important because, you know, you have to manage these things properly. But somehow I went through with it, and that accident was the only one that kept me off my feet, literally, for about 6 weeks. But we coped when that happened.
Right. So any regrets from those days?
Not at all. I mean, I wouldn't say if they gave me that life to lead again, I would. I mean, you only become the president's physician once and not twice and 3 times.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call that a regret.
Okay.
I'm very grateful for having served in that position. And I just learned a lot. And I made a lot of friends, as much as probably I made enemies, so I don't know. But then that's life's lessons. You go into a place and you just learn things that I would never. And I saw countries that I would never buy a ticket to go to. And I learned a lot. I learned to relate to all kinds of people. Because you can imagine the size of presidency. You meet the highly and you meet the lowly. And you have to somehow manage to deal with everybody. So I think it's taught me a lot. And I've left with a lot of humility. My home, you're never allowed to be pompous anyway. Because you're a doctor, who cares? There are many before you, you know. So my parents taught us to be humble. But then leaving this job as the president's physician, I left with a lot of humility, and I think it also helped my spiritual life. So I can't say that I have any regrets at all.
Right. What about your marital life, your relationship with your husband? I mean, during that time, because you didn't have enough time with your children. Was it the same with your husband as well? And how did you manage it?
Well, I'm lucky to have a very enlightened husband who gave me his permission in the first place to go and do this job. Because I remember when I told Mr. President that the only thing I can think about is what's my husband going to say, you know, leaving the kids. And so he said, you know what, give me the phone, I'll call him and speak to him. I said, that won't be necessary. But right from the beginning, he supported me through and through. And so I'm sure he missed me as much as I missed him being away. But he knew that it was for a worthy cause. And out of all the doctors in this country, if your wife has been chosen to serve in this capacity, I can only imagine that most people would be happy. I'm sure he had his quiet moments where he thought, is it all worth it, you know, having her away, having to eat food that he probably wouldn't want to eat. I tried to cook when I came back, and I'd leave a whole lot of food for him and the children. But there were times I'll speak to him and I felt like he felt a little low. But he's just a wonderful person. I always say that my husband and I are great friends. And we are like siblings now. So he supported me right through. And there were no major issues at all.
Right, but you're still personal doctor to former President Kufuor. Now, as he's out of office, what has changed?
Well, the schedule has gotten much less now, and I don't have to go everywhere with him. Literally, and that's what I had to do before. Local trips, foreign trips, local events. Sometimes the ambulance has to be there. I have to be there. So now he's leading a quiet life, and that has allowed me to also lead a fairly quiet life. My stresses and my being busy is a totally different kind of stress.
Right.
But I still look after him. I look after his family, his wife, his children, his grandchildren, his siblings, and I'm a part of the family now. So it's not as hectic as it used to be.
Right.
But I still do my work as their physician.
Right. So you are the director for Brainwave Consult.
Yes.
And that is something that you set up yourself.
Yes.
How has it been? How have you managed the center over the years and till now?
Well, the truth is, I don't even know how it came about. Because when I left the job I was doing, I was wondering whether to go back to the public sector, go private, go and do an MBA. You know, I'm a little crazy like that. I try as much as possible not to be too tunnel visioned. So I was thinking about all these things, and I said, you know what? I've worked with high-profile people. I know people need service when they need it. They don't want it an hour late, you know. So let me set up something that people would appreciate. So that's why I set up Brainwave Consult.
Right.
And I'm managing it as the medical director and as a clinical nutritionist as well. So I did an MSc in clinical nutrition in Wolverhampton in the United Kingdom. So we have a nutrition center, we have a diagnostic component, we have the clinic, which I run, and then we have the laboratory as well. So it's busy, but it's very much, as my husband always says, and it's formative years, still is, because from 2009 to now, looks like a long time, but for any business, it's not nothing extraordinary.
Right. So you've embarked on a mentorship drive targeted at girls in the senior high schools nationwide. What is this all about for you?
Well, Brainwave is my daytime job, and doing sort of charity work and giving back to society for me is very important. And after I wrote the book, I was honored to have Honorable Nanoye Letha at my book launch. She was a special guest of honor, and for our president and his wife, and Her Excellency Nana Credo Edmund Rawlings. These are people who I look up to and who are trailblazers where women's empowerment is concerned. So Prof. Sakusa was there. I should mention him as well. You'll feel very left out if I don't. No, but it was a wonderful book launch. But then afterwards, Nanoye said to me, Honorable Nanoye Lika said to me, Ama, so she's also a friend from before, said to me, Ama, so after the book, now what? Because you can only print so many books, and you can only impact so many lives by giving those books. But I wanted to do something that will reach out to the wider community of the young girl. So I started thinking. This was in April last year, May, June. Then I came up with this project, which I've dubbed the Story of Our Lives project. It's going to be launched on the 15th of September, which is sometime next week, Tuesday. And basically it is telling the young girls the story of our lives. All too often what happens is that we tell them, you have to be of high moral standing, you have to study hard, if you want to be a doctor, you must do this, and all of that. I think the young girls are a little tired of hearing these lectures and these, they want to have a discussion. They want to see a real person. We have very women who have achieved, high achievers. They don't have to be in the professions like medicine, dentistry, law, and finance. No. I've chosen women from all over. I have people who are beauticians, I have people who are designers, I have hotel managers, I have so many different women who entrepreneurs I must mention. So we're going to go around the country in October and November and go to every region, speak to 200 girls, in the senior secondary schools. The Girls Education Unit of the Ghana Education Service has been fantastic, and they are helping us with it. So we just go and tell them who we are, where we've been, and where we are now, and where we intend to go. Our challenges and our successes. We tend to share our successes. Oh, President's Physician, fantastic. But failing my MP2 exam was a challenge. And that doesn't come out normally when people speak. They only speak about who they are now. But then to let the ladies, the young ladies, know that it's not going to be all smooth. We've been there, and this is what we have. Some people were abused. Some people want to share their stories of being abused at home. Some people want to share their stories of thinking that they were too dark or too fair. Some said they felt that they were too fat. And these are challenges you face through your childhood and also through adulthood. So we're going to share these experiences with these girls with the hope that they will learn something from it, and more importantly, they will identify with what we're saying. Because culturally, they can identify with some of the things we're talking about.
Right. Many girls growing up have a lot of needs, and sometimes parents aren't able to provide everything. Now you have the girls tending to think that it's easier to rely on a man, give him some sexual favors, and get some money to take care of yourself. And even young women today face that problem also. What advice would you give to young women and girls today who think that that is the easiest way to go around things?
It is easy initially, but you pay for it in the end. I always tell young girls that I meet, I tell them that it may seem easy, but these are men who have already achieved, who are married a lot of the time, are accomplished. And I always say that I don't mean to disrespect them, but they just add you to their possessions. I have a wife, I have children, I have 2 girlfriends, why don't you come along? And therefore, what are you worth? When it's like that, it just reduces your sense of self-worth. Apart from that, how much money can they give you? Are they going to be giving you money all along? And the risks you're taking. Don't forget, with this program we are talking about adolescent sexual health. Because the first sexual contact for a lot of these girls is by some of these older men. And we are just going to let them build their self-confidence. You don't have to be wealthy. And a lot of the people I'm going on this drive with came from very humble beginnings. Came from quite poor homes, some of them. But that didn't lead them to go and, as you're saying, give sexual favors to older men to be able to get to where they are today. And if they've been able to do it, why can't you? And just maintain your self-worth. Because later down the line, that man is going to point to you as one of his possessions. Oh, this girl, she's like this. And every time you would see people like that, if you are somebody who has a conscience, you understand, don't forget you get married. What does it feel like? Walking around and these older men pointing fingers at you and probably even, laughing at your husband and saying, oh, he thinks he's got a wife. When you think about all these things, and more importantly, your own self-worth, you really don't want to. I am not sitting here to judge anybody. Because some people really are hard-pressed. But it still shouldn't lead you, under the most extreme circumstances, to do this. But even if these girls have done it, I tell them, you've made a mistake, there's a chance for you to correct it and move along. You cannot continue to look back at your past mistakes and say, I'm not going to carry on. No, you can't.
What message would you give to female health professionals, in this country, those who've seen you achieve so much and are thinking, wow, can I also get there? Can I also do it? What would you be telling them?
I don't know how many president's physicians there would be who are female. Right. But the more important thing is that you don't have to be the president's physician to make an impact. I mean, for example, with what I am doing, if you're a mentor for these girls, you're making a great impact. And in your profession, I mean, it's not only academic laurels that make you who you are. It's your dedication to duty, your bedside manner, because that takes you a long way. You may have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't know how to relate to people and you yell at patients and you think you're all that and you speak to patients anyhow, you're not going to get very far. You might as well be in a classroom teaching. But if you're going to do outpatients work and you are dedicated to your patients, you must love them absolutely. And you must dedicate your time and your knowledge and to these patients. So that's the way to go forward. You don't have to be the president's physician, really. If you're not, it doesn't make you any less, a human being. And in fact, there are people who have achieved much more than I have achieved. There are people who are internationally recognized, internationally acclaimed. So in your own little corner, just brighten it and make sure that you're doing something good.
If former President Kufuor was watching you now, what message would you have for him?
I don't know about this. You're in a tight position. Well, what I'll say is, I've said this to him several times, right, and it will probably sound like a scratch record, but I really appreciate the opportunity he gave me to serve. Right. I always say, yes, God dropped it in the spirit, but sometimes God drops things in people's spirits and they are stubborn, and they keep saying, oh, well, this girl looks okay, she can serve, but I don't want her really. But then he was obedient enough to that call and said, come and serve. And I would like to say thank you very much, Your Excellency, with your beloved wife, Auntie Teresa, and your children, Chief, Nanama, Sa, Kofi, Ejekum, and all the lovely grandchildren and your siblings. It was a great opportunity to serve. I continue to be with them, but if anybody is hearing this and they're going to tell him, I'd just like to say thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure working with him.
Right. Looking into the future, what should we expect from you? Any more books?
Well, Selikim, definitely this book, The President's Physician, right, has already sold over 3,500 copies because I printed that many and I'm having to print so many more. So I think I probably have some writing skill. And no, but more importantly, I think the book has made quite an impact and I intend to write. Don't ask me what the title of that book would be, but I intend to write again on similar issues. However, more importantly, I intend to impact the youth.
Right.
So
okay.
that's what I intend to do and continue doing my work as a physician and a nutritionist.
Right. So we'll read a few of the messages coming in. This one says, I love the doctor, so calm, soft-spoken, but I've learnt a lot and I'm really inspired. How can I be her friend? Well, you didn't add your name, so I don't know how. And this one says, I'm William. I'm a website designer and would want to create a website for her project, Story of My Life project, if I'm right.
That's fantastic.
Right, okay, so those are the messages coming in. Final words.
Well, Selikim, I would just like to tell the youth out there, because I always address the youth. Those who have achieved and have gone ahead know what they're about. But the youth, especially the girl child, you can do it if you put your mind to it. There are no shortcuts. It's pure and simple hard work and dedication. And whatever you believe in, just go for it and do it and excel. Don't only be counted as one of them. Be counted as the person. And once you have that mindset, there's nothing, in my opinion, that you cannot achieve.
Thank you very much, Doc, for being here.
Thank you very much for having me here.
It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So Dr. Bettina Ama Bohene Andah is a physician of former President John Agyekum Kufuor, and she's been here sharing her story with us as the first female physician of a sitting president. She's also the director of Brainwave Consult. Before we go, a word of inspiration for you, our listeners, our viewers. This one comes from Angelina Jolie. And she's an American award-winning actress and humanitarian, as you know, and it says, if you don't get out of the box you've been raised in, you won't understand how much bigger the world is. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back same time tomorrow. Pleasure having you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.